If you are building a remote team in 2026, chances are you have already come across these two platforms, Deel and Remote.com. Both are huge in global hiring, both help companies hire internationally, and both promise to simplify remote team operations. But once you actually start comparing them, the differences become more important than the most people realize. So in this video, I'm going to break down Deel versus Remote.com from a founder's perspective. So yeah, it's not something I'm like sponsored by any of those platforms. I'll be just doing a practical comparison around things that actually matter when you are building a distributed team. We are going to compare contractor management, employer of record, payroll, compliance, platform usability, customer support, pricing structure, and which platform makes more sense depending on your company stage. But before that, quick disclosure, this video contains affiliate links which I may earn commissions at no extra cost to you. But why this comparison matters? A few years ago, global hiring was mostly something larger companies worried about. Now, even startups are hiring internationally from day one. Your designer could be in Poland, your developer could be in India, your growth lead could be in Brazil. The internet changed how companies hire, but operationally, international hiring is still complicated. You suddenly need to think about compliance, international payroll, contracts, taxes, classification rules. This is why tools like Deel.com and Remote.com became important. They are not just HR tools, they are infrastructure for remote companies. So here's a quick summary before we deep dive. Here's the short version from my perspective. Deal feels stronger for fast moving startups, contractor heavy teams, companies wanting smoother operations, teams scaling quickly across countries. Remote.com feels stronger for compliance focused organizations, companies wanting simpler workflows, teams prioritizing legal structures heavily. Now let us break this down properly. So the section one is contractor management. So this is where most startups begin, hiring contractors or freelancers internationally. Both platforms support this really well, but the experience feels different. Deal contractor experience. Deal feels very operationally optimized. The workflow is fast. You create contracts quickly, handle invoices centrally, and manage international payments from one dashboard. What stood out to me was how smooth everything felt operationally. You are not constantly chasing invoices or managing random payment systems manually. The dashboard also feels mature in this area. You can tell contractor workflows are a major focus of this platform. Things I liked. First of all, easy contract setup, multiple payment options, clear invoice visibility, good operational structure. For fast moving startups, that matters a lot. The less time you spend on admin work, the better. Now, let's talk about remote.com contractor experience. Remote.com also handles contractors well, but the product feels more compliance oriented than operations oriented. The workflows are simpler overall. Some companies may actually prefer that, especially teams wanting fewer moving parts. The interface also feels calmer and less tense. So, what's my take on this? If contractors are a major part of your hiring strategy, I would personally lean toward D. The operational experience just feels more refined. Now let's come to section 2, which is employer of record. This is the biggest category for most buyers. Employer of record or EOR allows you to hire full-time employees internationally without opening local entities. This is where both Deal and Remote.com become extremely valuable. This is where both Deel and Remote.com become extremely valuable. Deel, now first, let's talk about Deel employer of record experience. Deel focuses heavily on speed and usability. The onboarding process feels structured but not overwhelming. You can quickly understand employment cost, benefit structure, local compliance requirement, country-specific onboarding without getting buried in legal complexity. That matters for startups without large HR teams. Another thing I notice is that Deel feels designed for scale. You can imagine managing employees across multiple countries from one operational layer. Now let's talk about remote.com's experience that I had with employer of record. Remote.com takes a more compliance first approach. One thing they emphasize publicly is ownership of local entities in many countries. For some companies, that creates additional confidence. The platform itself feels more legal and compliance focused overall. Slightly less startup like, more structured, that can either feel reassuring or restrictive depending on your company. So, what's my take? Honestly, both platforms are very strong here. If your priority is speed and operational flexibility, Deel feels slightly stronger. If your priority is legal structure and compliance first workflows, remote.com becomes very attractive. Now let's come to section 3, which is global payroll. This becomes more important as your company grows internationally. Managing payroll across countries manually become extremely messy. Different currencies, different tax systems, different payroll cycles. This is where centralized payroll infrastructure matters. Now first let's talk about Deel payroll. Deal's payroll system feels mature and scalable. The dashboard gives strong visibility into international operations. Things feel centralized and operationally organized. You can tell the platform was built for distributed teams growing across multiple countries. Now let's talk about remote.com's payroll experience. Remote.com also handles payroll well, but the difference feels simpler overall. Less feature heavy, some smaller startup team may actually prefer that, especially if they want less operational complexity. So what's my take? For larger international teams, Deal feels more scalable operationally. For smaller teams wanting simplicity, remote.com works well too. Now let's come to section 4, which is platform UX and daily use experience. This category matters more than you think. If software becomes part of your company operations, you if software become part of your company operations, usability compounds daily. Now first let's talk about Deal's user experience and interface. Deal feels modern and polished. Despite handling complex workflows, the platform still feels relatively intuitive. Moving between contracts, payroll, onboarding, and payments feels smooth. The product clearly prioritizes operational speed. So now let's talk about remote.com's user experience and interface. Remote.com feels cleaner and more minimal, less visually dense. Some people will absolutely prefer this style, especially companies with simpler hiring operations. What's my take on the overall experience of both platforms? Personally, I found Deal more operationally powerful while still remaining useful. Remote.com feel calmer and simpler. Neither experience was bad, to be honest, because they are both, big companies that invest massively on user experience and interface. Now let's come to section 5, which is compliance and legal support. This is the category most of you underestimate, especially founders. Global hiring is not just about sending money internationally. It involves employment laws, tax compliance, contractor classification, benefits requirements, country specific regulations. Mistakes here can become expensive very quickly. Now let's talk about what Deel does in this area. Deel integrates compliance into workflows naturally. The platform guides users through localized requirements in a practical way. For startups without legal departments, that is valuable. Now let's talk about what remote.com does in this area. Compliance is one of the remote.com's strongest positional areas in my opinion. The platform feels very focused on proper employment structure and legal protection. You can tell that compliance is central to the product philosophy. My take on this, both platforms take compliance seriously. Remote.com feels slightly more compliance first. Deal feels more operations first while still maintaining strong compliance systems. Now let's come to section 6, which is integrations and ecosystem. This matters more as operation scales, company gets bigger, and you need to, connect different tools and applications. The more tools you use, the more important integration becomes basically. So Deal has a broader integration ecosystem overall, especially for HR, payroll, and operational tooling that helps reduce fragmentation across systems. Remote.com also supports integrations, though the ecosystem currently feels somewhat smaller. Still solid, just less extensive overall. Now let's come to pricing, which is one of the most important things you need to consider. Pricing changes often, so always verify directly on the official websites. I'm intentionally not quoting exact pricing in this video, but generally both platforms are premium products. You are not just paying for the software, you are paying for legal infrastructure, compliance systems, payroll coordination, administrative simplification. The question is whether the operational savings justify the cost for your company stage. For many remote teams, they of course do. Now, let's come to the final verdict. So, here is the simplest way I would frame it. Choose Deel if you want faster operational workflows, strong contractor infrastructure, a polished startup friendly platform, scalability across distributed teams. Choose remote.com if you want strong compliance centered workflows, simpler operational structure, a more legal first hiring experience. Personally, if I were building a fast moving remote startup today, I would probably lean towards Steel. The operational experience feels more optimized for speed and scale, but remote.com is also a very strong platform depending on your priorities. This is not a winner takes all category, it depends on how your company operates and your personal preferences as well. But if you want to check out Deel and see whether it fits your company, I will leave my referral link in the description below. And if this video helped you understand the differences between these platforms more clearly, subscribe. I will be sharing more founder focused breakdowns around remote work, SaaS, operations, and building internet businesses.